Hey guys, I'm back with another little update video. This one's going to be covering more of the noob traps or just general advice to get better at the game. So first of all, we'll talk about leveling up. So noob, I think I mentioned this in one of the previous videos, but a noob trap which I recommend players to avoid is the paint jobs. So paint jobs are bad as they provide weapon levels to reach modification slots faster. However, these slots can be better spent on upgrades that give the player a competitive advantage. Now, for instance, if you get, grey upgrades and a few paint jobs, you can spend 15 gold to re-roll your upgrades to find better suited weapons. So again, if you're going to get 2 or 3 weapon levels, I personally would suggest even like a 10% reload speed 3 times is far better, because that provides something for you to use and, progress better in the game. So moving on, we're going to go to pretty good leveling up upgrades you can get. So some pretty good ones you can get are going to be weapon damage, load speed, and fire rate. Now they're all equally good. So some weapons have insane fire rates, fast reload speeds, or huge amounts of damage, and some modifications provide access to further buffs to certain weapons. So some modifications you can find directly increase reload speed, fire rate, and whatnot. Some will just flat out increase damage. So these upgrades truly depend on your own preference and what aspects of the weapon need to be addressed first. So, you may want to play run and gun where you're just constantly reloading and what you don't really have to worry about damage, but if you can pump like fire rate and reload speed, if you can continuously pump out, damage, you're fine with that, that's cool. So, for example, Gunner's third modification slot, Gunner's third starting class, starts with the Thunderhead Heavy Cannon. So this has an insanely slow reload speed and fire rate, but like really good damage. So personally, I always prioritize the reload speed so I can kill bugs sooner. The fire rate's, it's pretty bad, but like it almost one-shots everything for me. So I always go reload speed just so I keep pumping out damage, and then I'll focus on fire rate. Because there is one upgrade I usually always go for which penetrates bugs, but at the cost of a negative 30% decrease in reload speed, fire rate, So I always get reload speed first and then just dump everything into fire rate. Now, with the weapon damage, reload speed, and fire rate, although it says, weapon damage, weapon reload speed, weapon fire rate, this also influences throwables such as Driller's Axe and Gunner's Firebomb Grenade. So if you do, for instance, play one of Driller's classes, which is, it kind of encourages 4 slots of throwables, these will affect it. So when you hover over it, so if you hover over any upgrade, it'll actually there'll be 2 arrows pointing up on any weapon that it directly affects. But if you hover over, if you've got 4 throwable slots packed with, throwable weapons, and then hover over 10% weapon damage, for example, you won't see the upgrade symbol or the 2 arrows pointing up to indicate, this particular weapon is being affected, which kind of throws everyone off. But yeah, if you upgrade damage on throwables, it'll affect it too. So with the buffs above, each weapon as follows has a common, uncommon, rare, very rare, and legendary status effect. So, reload speed, weapon damage, and fire rate. Altogether, common is 5%, uncommon is 10%, rare is 15%, very rare is 35%, and legendary is 50%. So these, of course, include weapon reload speed, weapon fire rate, weapon damage, and again, these all influence the throwables. So although if you, hover over it, you won't see any arrows on the throwables, it does get affected. Moving on to character buffs, this is kind of where it gets a bit tricky. So when you level up, you can get access to upgrades that increase your max health, increase movement speed, or increase shield or your damage reduction. General reload speed, which affects all of your weapons. General damage increase, which affects all your weapons. And general fire rate buffs, which affect all your weapons. Finally, an elemental damage buff to all weapons that have an elemental effect. So this can include fire, freeze, shock, acidic, and plasma. These ones are a bit hit or miss. When I say general reload speed, there's actually a perk that will increase every weapon's reload speed, but it comes at a hefty discount. So for example, the uncommon reload speed for a specific weapon is 10%. The general reload speed needs to be 6%. So it is, and like for example, if you get a 50% reload speed for a weapon you love, that's awesome. which will be a legendary, but a legendary general reload speed will only be 18%, but it'll affect everything. So this kind of I've had like opportunities where I've had 2 legendaries, and one was for a weapon and one was for everything. You know, 18% to everything is cool, but 50% to a weapon I heavily rely on is really nice. So yeah, these general buffs are cool. They provide a lot to the player. It's a bit hit or miss though. You know, some of it could be buffed a tiny bit to like 20%, just increased by a bit to kind of even out. 18% is weird. Just following that, so yeah, I just wrote down here, so the general buffs level up and increase the percentage effect as follows, so you know, common, uncommon, rare, very rare, and finally legendary, each increase a little bit. So the common will be a 3% buff, so you know, any general perk will be a 3% buff, which is kind of bad. Uncommon is 6%, rare is 9%, very rare is 12%, and finally legendary is 18%. So, you know, 18% damage increase, it's not great, but it does the trick if you need to. So moving on from these character buffs and leveling up rewards you can get, we're going to move on to the Dwarf class starting mods. So we'll talk about the positives and negatives. So everyone starts with Scout. His first one, I'm just going to have a quick look, bear with me. Scout's first one is classic, so you get plus 10% move speed and plus 20% max HP. His weapon, the Deep Core GK2, it targets the closest enemy. Honestly, it's not bad. It is a bit tricky to play around with, just because when enemies, you know, come at you in all directions, the gun will fire in all directions and won't really kill them, which you've just got to power through it. Now, if you're curious how the level the mods unlocks go, is I believe you get the first mod from level 1, you get the second mod from level 8 or level 12, and then you get the final mod slot from level 18. Now, you would think the higher up you go, the better, but it's not actually the case for some of the characters. So again, you know, the first starting class is pretty tame. It's neither good nor bad. You know, there are some bad things, there are some good things. I generally would not touch it again, only if I'm going for like, I'll do a video on getting all the achievements, because I've got all the achievements. I cheese 2 of them, so you know, it's kind of bad. Now, Scout's second class is called Recon. Now, it gives access to light weapons, and you get, by default, a plus 25% dodge chance, which means any damage you take, elemental or from an enemy, you have a 25% chance to completely negate it. Now, when you get the dodge effect active, for 5 seconds, you get 35% reload speed and 35% movement speed. His weapon is a Zukov Nuke 17. So from the base game, you know, it's mass fire rate, it's really cool. Similar to this gun, but it kind of splits off in like a diamondy shape, where from the character, you'll get 4 volleys going out in straight lines. Imagine there's a square around the character, right? With the square, the bullets will go to each of the corners, so it's a bit tricky to line it up. Like, it does kind of suck, but I won't spoil the last level 18 mod you unlock, but it just resolves this and makes this weapon insane. Moving on to Scout's last class, it's called the Sharpshooter. Now, it releases now what it does is you will release a shrapnel explosion when doing overkill damage. I have no idea what overkill damage is. I've seen it happen a few times. I assume it's when you get a critical hit damage, and you do like massive damage. If it's over the enemy's base health points, they'll explode and do damage around them. So you start with the M100 Classic. Now it shoots high caliber piercing bullets, keyword piercing, so it will go through multiple enemies. It won't go through every enemy, but it'll go through a lot. I think the max is 6, but perhaps I'll have to recheck this. So how this weapon works is it targets the highest HP enemy, which is, it's situational, seriously. You could be running away from enemies, and then it just fire to your right, to your left, in front of you, behind you, because it's just targeting for the enemy of the biggest HP point, which, you may have to tank damage with this character class. So with this mod in particular, you get a 15% increase to your critical chance and a 50% increase to your critical damage. Sounds awesome, but you have to remember the chance by default is 5%, I think. So you get a 1 in 5, with this class you get a 1 in 5 chance to do critical damage. It's not great, honestly, it's pretty mediocre. Like, I like it. I don't really play Scout. I touch Recon most because I like his Zuko final upgrade, it's insane. So we'll move on to the gunner. So Scout, seriously, pretty noob trap. I'd say get away from Scout as soon as possible, but if you need to unlock weapons for him using other characters, just slam in, you know, try and do Hazard 1, Hazard 2 missions as much as you can. So we'll move on from that to Gunner. Gunner's first starting class is awful. It is real bad. So it's called a weapon specialist. So you start with the lead storm powered minigun. It only shoots in the direction you're facing or moving. Which, you know, like if you're facing a wall mining, it's just going to do nothing. So that's kind of, you know, too bad. But for every 100 projectiles fired, you shoot an 8 high-powered projectiles in all directions. This sounds insane. It's insane on like the first couple of missions in the low tier hazard missions. But once you get like into like the level 4th layer of a mission or has 3 above, this will not kill enemies at all. And it's just annoying because it won't kill them. It's like, what the point? What's the point? May as well just give me ammo back. Like, how about this? Every 100 bullets fired, you get like 400 bullets back, so you don't have to reload. That would be way better. So yeah, his first class is horrible. Just use it to get his second class. So his second class is called Juggernaut. So you start with the Bulldog Heavy Revolver. This one targets the closest enemy. Usually it'll be 2 to 3 shots to kill an enemy, so that's like half of its ammo capacity. But the ammos do pierce slightly, so it's kind of okay. So by default, he will start with plus 10 armor. This is also known as damage reduction. So the more armor you have, the more damage reduction you get, which is pretty good. You know, after a while, like I've got max armor. If I go and jump into any like Hazard 5 and go to Hazard 5 Magma Core and go and swim in some lava, I'll take 1-2 damage. So it's good. It's really good. Armor is good. Additionally, with 10 plus 10, I don't know what the percentage of that is. I'll have to figure it out somehow, but with the plus 10 armor, you get plus 50%, 50 max HP, sorry, not 50%, just 50 max HP. So this can go towards unlocking that achievement, which is 300 health points, which you know you can do. However, there is one downside. Negative 50% weapon range, meaning every weapon you have, right? So the bullets still travel far, okay? The bullets will still travel as far as they usually would, but your targeting is significantly reduced, which means enemies will be getting closer to your gunner, which, yeah, you know, higher hazards. If you just can't pump out damage, this sucks. The bullets, though, again, will still travel the full distance, but enemies need to be closer to be targeted. Additionally, now the one good side is, you know, when you take damage, you gain plus 10% damage. This will stack for 10 seconds and stacks up to 5 times, meaning if you get hit by anything 5 times, you will do plus 50% damage for 10 seconds. This is really useful because, like with Magma Core in particular, for fighting dreadnoughts or like elites, you can stand on lava, take like 10 to 15 damage over the course of 5 times, and just do plus 50% damage to that specific elite, and then easily get XP. So this class, not bad. Now moving on though to my favorite, I've learned to love Gunner now. This last class is a must-have. This is like seriously the only good class he's got. So you start with the Thunderhead Heavy Autocannon. This gun is insane, by the way. I'll do a breakdown of it in some other video. It is insane. So it gives access to heavy weapons, negative 10% movement speed penalty. So you will want to probably chuck 10% movement speed into your character selection and just, you know, bump it up so it negates that. However, your heavy weapons deal plus 25 weapon range and 25% reload speed. This is insane. So the Thunderhead by itself targets the highest HP enemy. The weird thing about this gun is it shoots in one direction. So when it targets an enemy, let's say it targets something directly above your character, if you run around it, it'll still shoot straight, so you'll probably miss things. This gun bullies enemies. Like it moves enemies out of the way. It's pretty good. Alright, moving on to Engineer, my personal favourite. Engineer, honestly, solid build. He's really difficult to get into, like he is really difficult to start playing, but once you understand how he works, he is brilliant. So his first class is Maintenance Worker, which gives you instant LMG gun platforms, which is basic things in the base game. He looks a bit ugly. I wish we could customize our dwarves, that'd be cool. So his construct damage does plus 10%, and his construct reload speed is plus 10%. So with the engineer, when you stop moving your character, he'll put down sentries, which if you need them is really bad. But a pro tip, for instance, if you're mining a mineral, if you just hold W or hold forward and walk into a wall while you're mining, he won't drop any turrets. He might drop one, because when he's full, he'll drop one to not waste, not waste the turrets. So you can walk, you can stop in front of a wall, drop a turret to protect yourself, and just continue holding W, and you'll just, mine away, and you won't drop any more. It's pretty good. His next one, Tinkerer, it's pretty strange. It's very niche. So you start with the Warthog Auto 210. It shoots in the direction you move, similar to Gun's first class weapon. But this weapon starts at level 3 and you get a plus 10% XP gain. Now, I would have thought once you spawn in, you could choose your 3 upgrades, but you cannot. I don't know if this weapon has 3 built-in upgrades, or it's just you start at level 3, so you get to your first mod 3 levels faster. It's very awkward. I don't like it. It's very strange. Now, NG's last starting class mod is Demolitionist. God damn it, sorry about that. He starts with the Deep Core PLG. It's a grenade launcher and it targets the closest enemy. Now with the Demolitionist, there we go, got it. It does plus 20% explosion radius, and plus 20% reload speed. This sounds great, it is pretty good, but on higher hazards, the damage is not there at all. So while you're kind of running around reloading the gun, shooting, because it has 2 bullets, it'll shoot one, wait a bit, shoot another, and then reload. Yeah, it's pretty bad. This one's terrible. I'm going to approach this like how Oddstava does, and I'm going to try and provide feedback, because I know it's early access still, but I want to provide feedback to the devs as to what they can do to make this fun, because all of the classes are real fun, but they're just imbalanced and bad. So, moving on to my second favourite class, Driller. All of his mods are situational at best. Every single starting class it's awful. So, with Driller, 4-man, start with the Subat 110. When you mine though, you gain a 2% mining speed that stacks up to 25 times for 2 seconds. So the longer you're mining something, the faster you'll get. However, if you stop mining, you have 2 seconds to save it or it goes away and you start from scratch. This is pretty bad. 2 seconds is not a long time. Seriously, it's really bad. Plus the Subata only shoots behind you, so this kind of reinforces the idea to mine while the weapon shoots behind you, but it's very awkward, because, like, if you're walking towards an enemy, you have to stop, quickly turn around, shoot him and walk, and continue walking that way, otherwise you'll do nothing. It's very strange. Like, this needs to be addressed, where I think it should shoot forward, but it's like very slow. Next is the Interrogator. So you start with the Flamethrower. Now it says for some reason here, gives access to fire and acid weapons, meaning you should start with them, but you don't. So I'm under the impression in the future when this game gets fully released, you'll have both the sludge cannon or sludge pump and the Flamethrower. Now, the Flamethrower, think of it like a clock. It has 2 hands that go sprout out from either side of the Driller, and they slowly turn around it. It's pretty bad. This is by far one of the worst classes in the game. So, by default, you'll get the Flamethrower, possibly the acid gun in future, or the sledge pump, sorry, but you don't have it right now. But you get a negative 30% damage reduction. This does not specify if it's only to the Flamethrower or to every weapon. I had a look, but I can't find it. But I think it is every weapon you get from when you reach, level 5, level 15, level 25, you unlock a new weapon. I think any weapon you get afterwards will instantly have its damage reduced by 30%. Now, to counteract this though, it says 100% status effect damage. This is super sad. The status effect damage isn't there. It's not. It's not there. It's so bad. It's like, it's situational at best, but other than that, like, it's super bad. So, like, a flamethrower, I think, does like 30 or 20 status effect damage. On higher hazards, you could hit one of the little clippids by themselves, run away, and it'll be on fire, it'll be put out, and it'll still be alive. Like, there's no damage there. There's no point in running it. They need to address that, like, super soon. Now, Driller's, my favorite class in Driller is super broken. It doesn't work. It's impossible to use. It's called Strong Arm. For some reason, it has a picture of a grenade, but you start with the impact axe. I don't know if that's a weird, maybe they should change that to make it a bit clearer. But first of all, you start with the impact axe. Oh man, there's a full video on this coming. This is a noob trap. This is insane. So, with your throwables, again, I don't know if this is just this weapon or every throwable weapon you get, or every weapon in general, but you get plus 20 weapon range. I don't think there's a way to look at the stats to see if this is affected, but I've seen in game, I think throwables are affected. I don't know if, because when I play this class, I only use throwables, so I have no idea if weapons get affected. Now, how the axe works is it does damage when you throw it out, and it does damage when it comes back. Think of it like a weird reverse boomerang. So you'll throw it, it'll go through enemies, it'll hit the floor. When it hits the floor, it does an area of effect damage. And then, after a while when you reload, all axes you throw will be drawn back to you and they'll do damage on the way back. So they'll pass through walls, which isn't great because like if there's no enemies in a wall, so it doesn't do a lot. So how this weapon works is it does 1/2 or 1/3 of the total damage when you throw it, and then when it lands, the area of effect does the full damage, and then on the way back it'll do 1/3 of the damage again. So you really want the axe to explode on the enemies you want to kill. Otherwise, you're doing basically nothing, which is where the problem comes in. Additionally, if you do run all 4 weapons, when you go to fight the Dreadnought, it becomes impossible because these weapons, all of them, all the throwables are either the throwables either get randomly thrown out, like the lead head or whatever that grenade is for gunner that shoots the bullets out. That just gets thrown randomly. So if you need to kill the Dreadnought, all the throwables either get thrown out randomly or they target the closest enemy, which becomes impossible to kill the Dreadnought because you're killing all the Glyphids around you and not the Dreadnought. It becomes too difficult. I always end up dying. I have to cheese the game to get infinite levels at like the first mission and then go on and be like, oh, I had an impact axe that had like plus 700 damage and I still struggled. It was super hard. So moving on from the classes, again, Driller is mid, yeah, he's bad. He just don't, he's bad. Engineer is good, particularly his first turrets, it's awesome. Gunner is difficult because it builds up. First class is terrible, second class is useful and situational, third class is it, just go with it. Scout, he's meh, like throughout he's pretty bad. Just, yeah, stick with Gunner and Engineer. So moving on, we'll go to the environmental hazards. So you have these stabber vines which pop up with little sprouts and they'll kind of like stab your characters if you come too close. You can outrun them. I think you need a bit of a speed boost, but you can walk straight past them and they'll hit behind you and that's cool. Next you got Spitfallers, they pop up from time to time. They're very popular on Hollow Bow and Magma Core. They throw a little projectile, it moves a bit slow, but what do you do? It doesn't blow up, it just hits you. It does a lot of impact damage. Next you get these like exploding plants in Magma Core. They do a lot of damage. Now if you get one by itself, you need a tiny bit of a speed boost, but you can run straight past it and it'll blow up behind you. One problem I have is it doesn't get affected by bullets. See, in the base DRG game, if you shoot it, it'll blow up, which I think they should address, because like I'll be shooting enemies and like expecting these things to blow up to kill the enemies for me, and they won't. I have to run in there and trigger it like a detonator would. Next, you've got the prickly vines. These don't hurt you, but these are those big red tentacle vines on Hollow Bow that block your access. You cannot mine through them no matter what. I think this is really nice, and I think this is cool because it adds a level of danger to Hollow Bow. Next you got the dead shrubs. They're like those dead, things that pop up a lot on Hollow Bow. You can shoot through them, and you can see through them. Enemies, they can grow over enemies, and the enemies can be trapped in them, but they can't move. You can shoot straight through them. This is where drillers, like the interrogator class kind of comes in best, because if enemies get trapped there, you can stand there and burn them and whatnot, and they'll just die in there, and that's good. That's literally the only scenario where I'll say driller is good. And finally, you've got lava. Lava doesn't do a lot of damage. It does like tick damage. There's no damage over time. Although your character will be on fire when you step out, you won't take damage afterwards. Now moving on to the maps in general, crystalline caverns, and this is going to be talking about the minerals that you find there. So crystalline caverns is pretty nice. It has a bit of everything. So a lot of the time, you'll find a lot of bismore, a lot of eumenite, a tiny bit of jaders, a little bit of cropper, and then a tiny bit of enor pearls. Now, bismore is what you use to upgrade your damage and the load speed in the character menu. This is where I farmed a lot of it, and I sold all the other minerals to buy more. That's how I kind of do it. So I'll focus on one upgrade, sell every mineral and buy the only mineral I need, and then once I finish upgrading it, I can move on to the next mineral and sell whatever I don't need, and that's how I did it. Next, magma core. It's magma, has a lot of magnite. I should mention, crystalline caverns has magnite, but it's not a lot. But magma core has a lot of magnite. It has a bit of everything else, but magnite is the main thing you'll find. Hollow Bow, though, on the other hand, has a tiny bit of everything, but it really succeeds in producing enor pearls, jaders, and eumenite. It has a lot of them. So how you find these minerals is you can either, walk around the map and see them, or on the mini-map, these minerals will appear as like a little kind of whitish pixel on the mini-map. Now, they only spawn by themselves, so you'll never get like two of the same mineral right next to each other. They'll be split kind of apart. They could be like, they could generate on the same wall, but you'll never find two exact same minerals together. So they can spawn other minerals, or you can find a bismore and an enor pearl sitting right next to each other, but you'll never find a bismore and a bismore, hugging each other. You just never see it. Now we found this though, the minerals will spawn in, they could spawn in tiny groups, and they could be accompanied with gold and nitro. Now, morkite is a side objective mineral, and will appear in clumps and be bright white. So if you see like a really sort of bright white clump, that's morkite, and that's what you need. Now, we're just going to move on to the what minerals and what creatures take hits to die. So loot bugs take 4 hits to kill. There's a golden loot bug I've seen twice. They're a little bit bigger than loot bugs, they're bright gold, shine gold, and they take 10 hits to kill. Now loot bugs give you a little bit of gold, a little bit of nitro. Golden loot bugs will only give you gold. So usually the walls in every map will take 3 hits to destroy, maybe 4 if I'm correct, if I'm mistaken, but usually 3 is it. Sometimes you'll find walls that have taken damage already, and they can be destroyed in 2 and even 1 hit. Gold and nitro take 9 hits to mine, and then the minerals listed above, which would be enor pearls, jaders, eumenite, bismore, etc., they will take 12 hits to mine. The only outlier here is morkite. Morkite takes 18 hits to mine, which is insane when you're being chased by bugs and you're desperate for it. So, red sugar, it takes 9 hits to mine, and breaks off into 3 parts whilst mining it. So, in total you get 45 HP, but every third strike you do on it, it'll drop a 15 HP little triangle. Now you've got these ambient crystals on crystalline caverns, and they take 2 hits to mine. At the end of the dead shrubs in the Hollow Bow, they'll take 2 hits to mine as well. So these, the little ambient crystals and little ambient dead shrubs, they just take 2 hits and you're straight through it. Now, all of these minerals that are listed above, apart from morkite, that's the only outlier here, all of these minerals break away in thirds and being mined. So if you will get like 1/3 of the total per mine interval. So, 4 hits to bismore will grant the player 1, if not, if you're lucky, 2 bismore. And then after 12 hits to total, you'll get 3 or 4 bismore. If you're lucky, you get a tiny bit extra, and usually you just get 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Now, Now, the last thing I'll mention here, because the videos get a bit long, I'm sure I'm bored of them, you know, the attention span's not great, but with your movement speed, you can increase your movement speed by default in the character menu upgrades and by the upgrades you get in the game. Now, you will pull away from the glyphids real fast. However, when you move far enough away, the bugs will increase the movement speed too to catch up with you. So you can see this, if you're faster, like if you watch the final boss, final enemies in the level, if you go Elite Victorian, Elite Terror, Elite Slasher, Elite Spitballer, whatever that thing is, Acid Spitter, if you're faster than it, you can actually watch it zooming towards you in the corner of your screen, and then when it gets in a certain distance, it like drops gears and like goes really slow. It's really strange. So just be warned, because I use the supply pod to drop on their heads and it instantly kills them. But if you don't take into account the speed factor in it, you can drop it too early and then you have to kill them the normal way. So this will be the end of the video. Hopefully you guys learned something from it. Again, you know, probably stick with Engineer, he's real fun. I've gone through the game, I've unlocked every achievement, and now I'm just doing every weapon upgrade in the game. Because Scout had like a Tesla coil building, Gunner has like a cool Tremor building, so I'm trying to get a building of Engineer where I only use turrets to make it a bit more difficult, because Engineer is super fun. Driller, I've done all 4 throwables. It's depressing, it's fun, but it's sad. Character buffs, you know, like the level ups you get are pretty good. Remember to spend your gold, because you build up gold over time. Just if you get some terrible level upgrades, just chuck in 15 gold to respin it. You could get a purple or a legendary out of it. Additionally, when you go to the final end of a mission, you get a little shop where you can buy things. If you don't like what you get, just re-roll it. I usually because it costs 5, it increases by 2 each level. So it'll cost 5 at the beginning, then it'll cost 7, then it'll cost 9, then it'll cost 11, I think. Just keep re-roll it until you find stuff you like. Don't go nuts, you know, don't wait to get a purple or a red or a legendary or a very rare, Just, you know, see a few greens and blues, you know, you need, just grab it and go. That's what you need. So I'm going to leave it here. Hopefully you guys learned something new. Hopefully this can give you an easier time fitting into the game. It is a bit difficult to use to play it first, don't get me wrong. I struggled too, but I just pushed through it. I'm a Deep Rock Galactic fanboy, so, you know, I just play it, I love it. And after unlocking Engineer, which is, you know, you can get it in the first 2 hours of the game, he blasted through the levels of me. I'm up to like Hazard 4, he's awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. I'll see you guys next time.
Ready for you. Clear the landing zone of obstacles, please. This works. Swarm detected. Get ready. They'll be with you shortly. That will kick you. It's time. That's all you got, you slippery shit. Makes my whole life better. Cowabunga! Tough choice. Overclock says it's time to kill. LZ cleared. Supplies inbound. Nice. You don't see these every day. Objective completed, Miner. Get to the drop pod before it heads back to orbit. This one's so mean. I'm a new dwarf. Gather up your beard and get onto that drop pod. It's about to leave. Congratulations. Congratulations, Miner, on completing the 4 easy steps. Next up is the final stage.
I just became a show me more. I'm a new dwarf.
Here we go. You've found the Dreadnought. Now you just need to make it come out of hibernation by destroying the cocoons. Show them what a single dwarf can do.
Eat that! Die! Feels rare. Feels right. Take that!
Supply pod LZ is going crap. Please clear it out.
Let's prove it wrong.
Objective completed. Dreadnought threat eliminated. All tasks complete. Stage finished. The drop pod is prepped and ready.
I
Get
will
on
hit
it
one
before it
beat.
leaves. Very well done, Miner. Taking you back to the space rig.